If you have over $200,000 sitting stagnant in your bank, retirement account, or home equity, then you're literally losing money. On this show, you learn how to get that money working for you consistently and conservatively. Learn to grow your nest egg with your host, Shawn Winslow. Let's dive in.
Hey, Chaz, welcome to the show, my friend.
I appreciate you having me. We've reciprocated
Yes.
on each other's shows, man. I'm excited for this. I've been looking forward to it.
So have I, man. And I know you're a busy guy, so I appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this. And, you know, I know you're able to do this because you have an awesome team and they can take care of everything. And I can't wait to get into that, like, you know, take care of the daily operations. And that's what it is to be a business owner. So
Right.
I'm plugging this show into our Friday slot, which is what I call Finance Friday. So typically I get on and talk about, you know, different tips and strategies to get your money working for you. Harder, right? And smarter. And I figured I'd bring you on this slot because I want to bring on some really cool entrepreneurs that aren't necessarily in the real estate space, but that are doing some really cool things, growing their wealth, getting their money to work for them. I think it would just be really cool to, you know, interview a high level operator like yourself. So,
Cool.
First and foremost, thank you so much for coming on. Chaz and I met through social media, which is, you know, it's probably the best thing about social media. Sometimes I feel like it's like the bane of my existence, but then there's other times where it's just like you meet awesome people.
Right.
And we've been talking about his mastermind, which I'm hoping to join in soon. I just got to take care of some projects that we got going, but he's doing some really cool things.
Yeah.
So before I steal the show and hog too much time here, Chaz, let's get your origin story. Who is Chaz? What do you do?
Yeah, man. Just appreciate the opportunity and what you're talking about finance, man. Just a real quick play on words here. In the mastermind, we call it, the mastermind's called Gathering the Kings, but the guys inside, because we talk about this all the time, whether it's real estate, other businesses, you got to take money and invest it and get it to work for you. And so we call it the King's roll. You do one project, roll it into the next, one business, roll it into the next, whatever you want to call it. You've got to have a discipline towards building the future. And so we can definitely talk about that. I've done that many, many times over with businesses and real estate, but we can talk more. Who is Chaz Wolfe? I am a builder. That is the core of my DNA. I'm a builder. And so what I mean by that is obviously inside of that, I'm a father, I'm a husband. I've got 4 beautiful children, a beautiful wife. I've got 8 companies, and man, we live life fast. There's a lot of times where I'm like, man, it's Saturday all over again. And which is great because that's the day I intentionally slow down, and I spend time with the kids obviously throughout the week, but like that's our day. We make pancakes together and like we just do the intentional Saturday slowdown. But all the other time, man, I'm beating the ground, and it's because I'm a builder. That's my DNA, that's my identity. That's the way the Lord has made me. I know that I'm to gather resources, business, finance, all these things together, and then my kids and my grandkids are going to do amazing things with it. I'm excited to see what that is.
That's amazing. And so tell me about the beginning, because you weren't always, well, I'm sure you were a builder in some aspects, but you weren't always
Right.
a builder in the sense that you are today. So take me back when you're younger. What were you doing for work out of the gate?
Yeah. So just to use the language that we use inside Gathering the Kings, I wasn't always a king, right? I was a warrior. And before that, you know, whatever you call it, different stages of a man's life, a business owner's life, you know, I was a warrior for a very, very long time. And what I mean by that is I had a W-2. I was in sales. I have a 17-year sales career. I was a very successful salesperson, sales leader, sales manager, sales director, executive, at many, many levels, built sales teams for big companies, even Grant Cardone, moved my family across the country to work at the 10X headquarters and become basically a minority partner inside of an agency with that, and built an entire sales team and agency around that. But what you're really asking for is how did it all come together? And it's like, well, okay, yeah. So I've been a high performer. I've wanted to do cool things. I've been an action taker and a doer. Well, what did that look like when I was in my 20s? Well, I was in sales, hitting the phone. I had no idea. I'm a college dropout. I had no idea necessarily what I wanted to do or who I wanted to become. I just knew I wanted more. I wanted more out of life. I was willing to like just go after it. I wanted to meet the guy, the Chaz version who I'm supposed to be in 5 years and the next 5 years. I was always looking for that guy and trying to become that guy. So whether that was reading books and listening to audios and hitting the phones and, hitting the gym and all the things that we hear that we're supposed to do, that's what I was doing, man. I was just in my 20s, very disciplined with my money, disciplined with my time, disciplined with my actions. And I became very, very good at sales and the sales process and just mindset and just overcoming. I come from a single mom family. We didn't have anything. My mom worked 2 and 3 jobs. I mean, just an incredible upbringing to be able to watch someone like that persevere and give me a work ethic and an understanding of, if you want something, you got to go get it. It's not going to be given to you. So that's who I was. And of course, somewhere in there, I'm 24. I start my first franchise. I actually left my W-2 at that point, but after building 4 franchises in 2 major cities, I went back to work, which is kind of crazy. And so that might relate to some of your listeners who are trying to invest in real estate and hold a W-2 at the same time. And there's value there, but there's also a juggling act. And so maybe we could talk about that. But I did that for many, many years. And I did it more so I could invest in real estate. I have, 4 companies at the time. We're doing millions. I'm 25, 26, 27, 28 years old. But I thought, you know what? I want to start investing in real estate. And so I literally went back to the job that I knew I would crush, make 100, 200,000 a year, and I could just stack it all and put it into real estate. So hopefully that answers your question of what things used to be. Maybe we can jump off from there.
No, thanks for sharing. I really appreciate that. And I did not know that about you. I knew you were in sales, but I did not know to that level. And I didn't know you worked with, Cardone and the 10X. That's a really cool story. And to your point about being the Chaz you want to be the Chaz in the 5 years from now, and then the 5 years from that. Right. I think that's such a great way to look at it. The saying, comparison is a thief of joy, right? And that's so true. That's when you compare to others. But what you need to compare is who you were yesterday and now who you are today and who you are going to be tomorrow. And I think that's the best way to look at it. So thanks for sharing that. But yeah, I would love to kind of talk about, so you were high level salesman, sales director, building, sales teams. And then you left and started 1 franchise at first and then another. And then you decided to go back to make some money to then invest in real estate, maybe some more, franchises. But what was that mind? I want to know the mindset that you had the first to actually start a franchise when you were still working, and the mindset to, once you had left, to go back.
Yeah. Well, the mindset originally of looking for a business was that I had developed skill sets of building teams, right? People, training, coaching, learning the sales process, all of that. And I felt confident with those skill sets. And then the entrepreneurial itch inside of us that we all, if you're listening to a real estate podcast, I'm going to guess, or a finance podcast, that you have the entrepreneurial itch. And that just means that you have this kind of crazy belief that maybe if I did it on my own, it would make me happy. If I had to figure everything out, that somehow would bring me joy. And it does. So that was the mindset of, let me get out of the box of corporate America and let me see what I can do on my own. But buying a franchise is kind of another box, right? Yeah. And I was okay with that. I kind of knew that at that time that I was leaving a 24 years old. I'm making 6 figures, and I'm a college dropout, and I'm going to leave that intentionally, which sounds kind of crazy for a college dropout at 24 years old to go take a chance on a business. And so for me, it was an existing business. It had been around for a few years. It was doing $500,000-$600,000 in revenue. And it allowed me to step into a system. I didn't have to figure everything out at that first moment, but it gave me some guidelines. The mindset on the back end. So, 3.5 years later, I literally am going to the gym. I meet a guy that I knew from before when I worked there. I'm seeing him again. It's been several years, and he's like, "Yeah, man, these guys are. Comp plans changed, and the company's growing, and." Guys are making, where I was making 6 figures, guys, 100, I was making 120, managers were making 250, and reps that were making 60 are making 150. I'm like, well, I know how to do this. And And so I thought to myself, okay, well, I've built some systems. I've got 4 locations. We're doing a few $1 million in revenue. I've really built teams well. I know how to build teams. I know how to build systems. And I'm sitting, not that I'm sitting on the couch. I don't know if I ever sit on the couch, but I was bored. I was ready for the next challenge. And I thought to myself, okay, I've been reading up on this real estate stuff. I know I need to start investing. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but this seems like an easy way for me to start stacking cash. I had no idea how to use OPM or how to, do no money down deals. I had no idea of any of that. I just thought if I could stack my bank, then I could go maybe buy some properties. So I literally went back to work, same job, 40 hours a week, making cold calls, hundreds of calls a day while I have a multi-million-dollar business. People were so confused, man.
That's the hustle you need though, right? That's like, you knew where you wanted to go. You knew what you wanted that Chaz in 5 years to look like. And you knew to get to that, you needed to stack some cash. And the best way to do that was go back to your skill set. And I think that's important too, that people talk a lot about, burn the bridges from your past to like, go 100% into whatever the new venture is. And I get that to an extent, but you do need to remember what got you there. And you clearly did. And you knew, I need to stack some cash. Well, I need to go back to this skill. And well, that's good that you didn't burn that bridge, right? So I think 100%. People need to look at it that way as well. So awesome.
Yeah, and it's the king's role. It's the discipline of finance, right? We're on a finance show right now. It's discipline, man. It's you recognizing as a business owner or a real estate investor, or if maybe you haven't started either of those yet, you have to understand that money is an active being, if you will, and you can't sit on it, not for very long, and it has to be in motion, and you need to use it in the right way. And so, it's the king's role that we talked about at the very beginning. I saved up money from my sales career. I bought my first franchise. And I saved up money from the first franchise, and 6 months later, I bought the second one. And I saved up money from the first and second one, and a year later, I started the third one. And I saved up money from the first, second, and third one, and a year later, I opened up the fourth one. And then I went back to work. And now, instead of what I thought was I was going to be making, 100, 150,000 a year, the year before I left, I was on track to make 550, bro.
Wow.
Outside of my multi-million-dollar business. Okay. And so I'm stacking cash so that I can do what? Buy a Lamborghini? No. So that I could go buy real estate. I bought multiple single family homes. I bought a small apartment complex, and so now what am I doing? I'm building passive income. I'm building, my flow to like my money's making money for me.
And that can pay for the Lambo if you ever wanted it, right?
Now I can pay for the Lambo if I ever want it. But I'm obsessed.
Now you're obsessed with building. Yeah.
All of it. It goes into the account and we go, look, hey, what do we need to live? Okay, here you go. Here's the allocation to the Wolfe family. Everything else gets reinvested. Everything.
Love it. And I'm glad you brought that up, because there's this big like sentiment and big push on social and all over the place about, creating this passive income to then, retire early. And if that's who you are, more power to you. But I just don't feel that's how it should be presented, right? Because the type of person that's going to have the hustle and the grind to be able to do that, they're not going to want to retire, right? They're like they're going to go to that point of view. I know you weren't sitting on the couch, but like that's what it is. You're going to be sitting on a couch, sitting at the beach. You're going to be bored, and probably depression's going to creep in. You don't have a purpose anymore. And
exactly.
So I just don't like that a lot of people are pushing this for multitude of reasons. We could get into it, like real estate, cash flow, of course, passive income can fund a lifestyle, but it's also there for security in terms of weathering a storm, because you're buying an asset and the cash flow allows you to weather any storm. And once you scale, yes, it does get to a point where, you can take a portion of it to then fund a lifestyle, but out of the gate, you shouldn't be taking 100% to fund a lifestyle. To your point, it should be going back into the business and going back into the business and building and building and building. And well, what does that mean, Shawn? Well, that probably means that you can't leave that W-2 or the other business you've created as early as you'd like. But it depends what you want in life. And some people want more, and you just got to grind and hustle. So
yeah, you're 100% right. And I think a lot of people don't like the W-2 because they feel trapped or that they're in a box, some of the same things that I mentioned.
Yeah.
But if you can have a creative outlet through real estate, then that it scratches the itch, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be an emotional decision of, oh, I hate this, I'm out. It can be a strategic plan. It can be over the course of time, what is it that I want? And so if you've determined as an investor that you want to not have to show up at 8 if you don't want to, that means you don't want to work for a company that makes you show up at 8, or you don't want to work for another company, one or the other. Then that means you're going to have to build enough income outside of it to replace it. Now you can, like you said, you can burn the bridge and just jump ship and then go create it. And that's fine. Some entrepreneurs need that. They need the boats to be all gone in order to get them into action. They live on survival. They live on the people who said that you can't do this. I'm a strategy play. I'm trying to think of my next 5 moves. And for me, I had no shame in when someone came up to me and said, so you're back.
And you shouldn't have shame, right? Yeah.
Right. Are the businesses not working? What, why are you? I don't understand. I don't like making 200, phone calls a day. Why are you coming back here to do this? I'm like, well, I have one purpose and one purpose only. And that is to stack as much cash as possible because I need to buy real estate. And they're just like, what? Right. And I don't need to be here at all. I don't need to be here. I choose to be here. And what that should actually do for the folks that still have the W-2, it should give you a whole nother level of purpose, a whole nother level of excellence, right? I didn't just show up to make some sales. I literally became the best salesperson in that entire 3,000 salesperson organization because I knew I didn't have to be there. And if I was going to be there, I was going to freaking be number one and make the most money possible.
100%.
Because otherwise, why was I doing it? I wasn't just showing up because I had to. If I was going to take my attention away from other possible endeavors, I was going to press into that. So I would just say that there's a spirit of excellence when you have this transition, even if you still have the W-2. Bro, be good at it, man. Be the best there. They should be hurting when you want to leave, right? Not because you're trying to hurt them, but like because you were so darn good at what you did, because that's what excellence, you can't suck at your job and then think you're going to go build this huge real estate conglomerate and one day retire on the beach. It doesn't work that way.
No. And if you're the type of person that could build that, you're not going to want to do that. I think that's the disconnect that a lot of people have.
Yeah. Well, they're sold the dream. They're sold the dream of sitting on the beach, right? Because everybody likes the idea of retirement and driving the Lambo, which is fine. Like, I don't have any problem with any of those things. I like going to the beach, and maybe one day I'll have a Lamborghini. I don't know. I'm 6'5". I don't know if I can fit in one, but the reality is that that's the dream. Inside of what that actually takes is you being disciplined. And so maybe it's not the beach and it's not a Lambo, but maybe you just want to only work 5 hours a day so that you can spend other time with your kids. Like, that's freedom. That's okay. But from the way I see that is that I need to have a certain net worth, a certain amount of money invested that's paying me every month so that I can go spend that time with my kids.
100%. And to your point of see, that's a purpose, to spend time with your kids. And the person who has the dream of sitting on a beach, the Lambo, like you said, that's great. But to be brutally honest, I think the people that have that dream don't have, and this is brutally honest, everybody, I just don't think they have the hustle to actually create that, because if they did, that wouldn't be their dream. Like, you can have those things, but you're still wanting to build. Like, Chaz is a builder. He's talking about having time to, go spend with his kids, which he already does. And I know he'll continue to grow that. But at the same time, I don't see Chaz ever slowing down. He's still going to want to, build more and more and more. And
eventually my kids will be involved. I want to get them involved. I want to build with them.
And that's what's great about life too, is that we don't all have to be the same and have the same goals, same dreams. You just got to do what makes you happy. And if that's your dream, then that's awesome. And I'm really glad we touched on this. But I'd like to kind of transition, because you talked about earlier, you're able to do all of these things and be able to spend time with your family. You're able to go back and work that sales job while still having 2 businesses, because you're a team builder and you're good at setting up systems. So Can we talk about team building and systems? Because when it pertains to real estate business, or frankly, any business, but since this is a finance and real estate business, podcast, systems are very, important, and team building is very important. When you have a multifamily apartment community, you have on-site staff. It's about building that team because they're the ones that are there all the time. You have systems that they can, easily use, repeat, and systems that keep them accountable. Then you have your property management that have systems and keeping them accountable. Right. You just hit on all that, how you what you look for when you're building a team, and kind of some of the systems that you've implemented.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind when we're talking about a team is obviously people. And so you have to identify the seats on the bus, for lack of better terms. And so one of the tools that I use that one of my good friends turned me on to many years ago is Culture Index. And through the Culture Index, I can identify a person's skill sets or personality traits, if you will. I can't find out everything about them, but I can know how their cake is baked, right? I can know how they go about their business. And so based on that, I can then look at my seats on the bus and I can go, okay, I need somebody who's detailed to do this role. I need somebody who's more of a social person to be able to do this role, and on down the list. It's when I have the wrong people in the wrong seats or the wrong people on the wrong bus altogether that things just don't work from a people perspective, from a team building perspective. When I can put somebody in a role that they naturally are going to lean to and then give them support, coaching, guidance, direction, and that some of that can be broken down into a training system or SOPs or, some of the systemized things we can, some of the words that we can throw out here. But when we're talking about people, if I can find ideally the right person and then come around them in a supportive way, whether that's me or even other people on the team coming around them, training, making sure that they have what they need, culture, all of those things are going to help with building the right team. So there's personalities, there's obviously values, like outside of just personality, what does this person find valuable in life? Do they align with the company, the mission? What are we trying to do? With Gathering the Kings, we're trying to help entrepreneurs, real estate investors, whatever alike across the country who don't have a place to be able to get around other high performers. Well, what happens to that entrepreneur when they get around other entrepreneurs? Well, they can reach their potential. They can see things bigger, or they can find solutions to problems that they're having. That's like a really servitude. We're creating a community that serves people across the country that are completely different backgrounds, completely different industries, completely different problems. If I find somebody who doesn't like serving people, they're going to be a really bad fit for Gathering the Kings, know?
Right.
So I can break it down so simply from that angle, but then also I can find, the like maybe bigger idea of, okay, so here's where we're going in 5 years, and who helps me do that? Who are the main components of the team? Okay, so I need somebody to follow up with clients. I need somebody to sell on the front end. I need, or we're talking about a property man or a company or a property. I need a property manager. I need a maintenance person. I need maybe a guest experience person. It kind of just depends on how big the property is or what kind of, rentals you got going on inside the property. But pick the people, identify the roles, pick the right people for the roles, give clear instructions and support around it. And those people will do a lot because they're in the right place. They're fulfilled. They want to achieve. They're the right person at the right seat on the right bus at the right time. As far as systems, SOPs, just document the things that you do every day, every week, repeatedly over and over. I'm going through this process again right now inside of Gathering the Kings, actually. I've done this with my franchises. Obviously, the franchise has systemized a lot of things, but even for like our Valentine's days and holidays, like I've had to create my own, hey, here's how we do things, right? Here's how we sort the strawberries. Here's how many people we need dipping here, like all of the things, right? So you go through it, you write it down, what worked, what didn't, and you create a duplicatable system that can be followed by someone else who has no experience whatsoever. So the same thing's happening right now in Gathering the Kings. We're growing. And so I have certain automations that we're implementing. I have certain team members that we're starting to bring on because my current team is going, okay, here are the 30 things that we do every single week or every single day, and say, okay, so should that person be doing it? Can it be automated? Can we delegate it out? Do we need a new virtual assistant? Do we need a new team member? Like, what is it that we need in order to keep the flow happening? So hopefully this is making sense. Hopefully it's valuable.
No, definitely. Yeah. And I think it all comes down to trial and error. Like I think you were saying, you're trying to figure out what the best system for your business and your people are, because it's got to fit both things. It's obviously got to work for business, but it's got to work for your team. Are there any softwares you use to kind of, manage, like if it's a Asana, Monday.com, a Slack, like anything to like keep everything together? You mentioned automation, so
yeah. Well, Asana is a similar product to what we use. We use Basecamp. For a lot of things, and then obviously we actually use that for our mastermind as well until I can build our own app. But we use it for the ability to chat and keep documents and guest speakers and just stuff like that we've got that we want to keep for everybody to be able to view and be able to chat with each other. But outside of that, obviously Zapier is a big software that connects all of your other softwares. Like I said, I'm working with an automation kind of specialist, a Zapier specialist, if you will, who's trying to connect. We use ActiveCampaign for email sequences and connecting that to our CRM. We use close.com and be able to, when you move people through the stages, to be able to send automated emails or follow-up texts or whatever. A lot of those things can be done manually at first, but then eventually you have to you've got to either find the automation or you've got to, depending upon the person that's doing it, I'll give you an example. You've got to then eventually give it to somebody else because that person's probably valuable enough to where they need to be doing a higher level task. And so I've got a person on my team right now. She's been lovingly dubbed the key holder because everybody on the team knows she's got the keys. I don't hold the keys. She holds the keys. She has the passwords for everything, and she knows literally the heartbeat of almost every section of the business. And so the cool part about what she does is that I can put her on a new task. I can say, okay, hey, here's the deal. I need you to go figure this out. And so she'll go in and research, and she likes YouTube and she likes, Google, and she can figure out what it is that we need. And then she can start doing it. Okay. And then these are the repeatable things. Here's what we need to automate. Here are the things I need people for. And then so now me and her together can go, okay, how do we build a system and a team around this thing?
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
We use some of the same stuff too. So it's cool to kind of compare. You mentioned, the culture and a vision and having that all aligned. It's something that I've really started to think a lot about in terms of, a lot of people think, oh, let's create this vision, and they just keep it to themselves. Are you constantly sharing your vision, not only with your team, but anyone who comes in contact with your businesses?
Yes. And yes. And yes. I think that there's a, some people hear this and they say, well, I don't want to be the guy that's talking all the time. Right. Yep. And that would have been me. Like if I would have heard what you just said, years ago, I would have been like, well, I don't really want to be the guy that walks in the room and everybody's, like I'm trying to get everyone's attention. I think we can all agree as business owners that we need attention. I just was looking for it genuinely and organically. And so once I have organically, created a conversation or a relationship or someone's on my team, then the vision, I'm the only one that can deliver it. Rightfully so. It's in my brain. And so not only do I need to get it out on a regular basis, so I have, thinking time on the calendar, or I have, even a workbook that I created for Gathering the Kings. It's just, I need to be able to put my thoughts, my 5 year into a 1 year, my 1 year into a quarter, my quarter into months, my months into daily and weekly disciplines and habits. And if I'm not doing that personally, there's no way that I can share that with my team or anybody else. My team needs to hear it constantly. They need to remember where we're going more than you think. And I even have had people on my team speak at some of our events about this, because if they don't hear it often, because we change things all the time, like
right,
every single day, I'm like, hey, let's try this and let's try that. Let's bing, 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 back and forth. And to them, that looks like the vision is changing, and which makes them uncertain, and it makes them like, wait a second, is everything okay? And because they don't think like us.
Right.
And so at a certain degree, it's my duty to share the vision. And then obviously things can change. The tactics can change. And then now they find more comfortability with, my craziness and wanting to try everything, or maybe some things are not other things, or we're doing this thing and now we're doing something different or a different offer, is because we're just trying to find the foothold in the marketplace. We're trying to find the right deal. We're looking at, multiple deals a day. Some work, some don't. Maybe I've changed my criteria. I've changed my buy box, whatever it is. Outside of that, we gotta remember what the vision is. And there's only one way, and that's to talk about it all the time.
I love it. And it changed it. Once you start doing it, it changes a lot of things more than you think it would. People really buy into it. They see why you're doing what you're doing,
right?
And they want to support you, and they want to see you win. They want to be part of the win. So that kind of changed things for me, and so I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah.
All right, Chaz, you got a lot of stuff going on, man. You're doing so much, and you still find time for family to get on here and jump on a podcast for an hour. Like, how are you doing this? Do you have a daily routine? If so, what does that look like? How are you able to kind of accomplish all this and keep it organized, or is it organized chaos?
Well, it's always organized chaos for sure. I think anybody at any successful level that would tell you that it's perfect or that they're perfect is straight lying to you. I was just talking to a guy literally this morning that did 250 million last year in revenue. And he's like, bro, don't let anybody tell you they got it together. Nobody has it together. They're doing just like you are. They're just figuring it out. Maybe they've gotten some other things figured out that you don't yet, but bro, they're not perfect. And so to say all that is, number one is the team. Like I could not do what I do if I didn't hire, but then literally give things away, empower them. Not like, hey, go do this for me. It's, I want to find the right person who takes pride and joy in being who they are. And that aligns with some certain tasks in the business. They love it. I love it. It allows me to go do other things because I shouldn't be doing everything. That's number one. Of course, a routine is imperative. I look at my calendar and it's like, good luck. You want to schedule something with me? It's going to be weeks, potentially even months, depending upon what type of a meeting it is. Yeah. And it's like, and that's okay. I'm okay with that because that's how you build things, is that you put it on the calendar and you let the calendar pull you forward into things, and which includes family time. I'm trying something different here coming up in September. I've, instead of taking, just a short amount of like 2-3 hours in the evening with my family and kids, I'm going to move it to a little bit more of a daytime. So I'm going to take, calls and business stuff like I'm normally doing between 8 and 2. My kids get off of school at 3, and we're going to hang from 2, with my youngers, and then my olders get off at school at 3. We're going to hang until they go to bed at 7. So we're going to go from like a 2 to 7 family. I'm turning, everything off. I'm doing family time, or that's the ideal target. Yeah. And once they go down, then I'm going to get into, I have this innate ability to have an evening flow where I like to get in. I like to turn all my lights off in the office minus one little lamp. And I kind of just get into like maybe I'm working on a landing page, or maybe I'm working on a new idea. I'm whiteboarding some stuff. It's just quiet. Nobody's calling me on my phone. Nobody's texting me, and I can just get into a flow state. And so, yeah, man, the calendar is huge. Time management is huge. I'm every moment of the day to the minute is pre-planned. Otherwise, no way, no chance.
Yeah. And to your point of working late, I've realized I get some of my best focused work done either late at night or early in the morning. And it's to your point of no one else is working or wanting anything. So there's no text, there's no phone calls, there's no emails.
Right. And some people do that in the morning, right? Some people do that at 4 a.m. Like whatever your chronotype is, and depending upon when you go to bed and when your flow state is. I had a guy come in and speak about that in our mastermind in Q1. But the reality is that you have to flow with whatever makes sense. I'm not a morning person necessarily, but I'm up at 5:30. I'm not necessarily one that just wants to like work out when I'm tired. I think that's odd. I have like flashbacks to like 8th grade, 5 a.m. basketball practice where I'm like sweating, into my eyeballs from doing stairs, and I'm still asleep. Like I don't want to work out in the morning, but I do because it allows me then to do the rest of the things throughout the day. When my kids are up, I'm making breakfast, I'm hanging out, I'm on calls right away. I can be with them in the evening. It can all be stacked if you've thought about it ahead of time. If you're not reactionary or reacting, but it's all planned, it's all put together, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Things flow. People cancel meetings, like things happen, emergencies happen. And I got to cancel the whole day. Like things happen, but I'll tell you what, things are getting done because they're on the calendar.
Right. That's the thing. Planning changes everything. Because I used to be, when I started in my finance career, I was more of probably the reactionary person. Let's just, I'll just push through, I'll hustle, let's just grind it out.
Right.
What happens, I'll make it work. But there's something to the point of planning it out. So when that something does happen, one, it's easier for you. and two, you're not going to let things fall through the cracks. It just won't happen, or at least not nearly as much. And I've recently started taking Sunday evenings and just mapping out my day. You know, don't, like, those listening, turn off Netflix, whatever you usually do on a Sunday night, just or whatever night works for you. Just take an hour, maybe two, just plan out the week. And then once Monday starts, you're just ready to go. And it just makes everything so much easier.
Totally. I second that. I've done that on Sundays. Actually, usually I'm doing it. The very last thing I do in the office is take a look at the calendar for tomorrow. I want to end the day by knowing what tomorrow looks like. I'm always thinking ahead. It doesn't mean that necessarily that, again, you have to be perfect, right? It's not like you're saying that like you can't watch Netflix. It just means that think, like, don't be reactionary. That is the absolute worst place to be. And since this is technically, you know, like you said, your finance episode, it's the same thing in finance. What are you planning to make this month? Where are those dollars going? Where are they allocated? That is the same discipline that we're talking about with time commitment and calendars. If I know I'm going to make 30K this month or 3K this month or 300, it doesn't really matter. Have I projected where those dollars are going to go? And how much is allocated to living expenses? How much is allocated to storage? You know, storage unto getting another deal or whatever, another business, whatever it is. If you don't plan that, we already know it's not going to happen. Things are going to happen to you. You're going to bump, you know, back and forth between the bumpers all month long, and nothing's going to be left over. That is why people in the finance sector just never can quite get ahead, because they're not thinking ahead. Just like we're talking about with the calendar, it's the exact same thing in finance. If I've claimed it, if I know where those dollars are going, I will not misuse them. Just like I won't misuse my time. If I'm on the calendar with you for this hour, I can't schedule somebody else.
100%. And SOPs, you talked about that earlier, and people that don't know that acronym, it's standard operating procedure. And you shouldn't just have them for your operations side of your business. To Chaz's point, you should have them for finances. You should know where the money's going, and there should be, you know, systems set in place that move that money to where it needs to be. That's what we do every time we buy an apartment complex. We have 6 bank accounts for each apartment, acquisition, and we know where that money has to go. That each account has its own purpose, from operations to CapEx, taxes, insurance, and so on. Right. And that all gets funneled, you know, proportionally to those accounts when revenue comes in, and then when those expenses need to exit, we already have it in those bins, right? Yeah. And I think that's really important, because I think, to your point of being reactionary, a lot of people, you know, maybe they know how much is going to come in the month, but some people don't even know that. But even if they do know that, they don't necessarily know where it needs to go or what's exiting. And it's more of, I'll just figure it out. And that's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to be reactionary. It's tough because things are happening all the time. And so it doesn't mean that just because you're proactive in your finance or your time calendar or your management style of your day or your routine, things are still going to happen. Fires still happen. The flat tire still happens. But I can tell you that the flat tire has never disrupted my day.
Right.
Because not that I'm anticipating it, but I've got other things in motion because I've thought about it. I've even thought about the worst case scenario. I've even thought about, okay, so if I'm literally busy all day today, if I've done what Chaz told me, I've filled the calendar and I know what I'm doing. I've allocated all my dollars, like Shawn said. But then guess what? A catastrophe happens. And now I don't have enough money in the operating account or the CapEx account to take care of this expense. Well, now we have a fire. Now we have a situation, and now we got to get creative. Okay, fine. But we've probably thought about that. If we have this discipline of thinking ahead and being proactive, then I know that on my way to this lunch meeting, if my tire blows, well, then I need to make a couple calls, probably just to my one key person. She's going to make some phone calls to the rest of the people I'm meeting with today until I get another tire, or I'm going to have a tow company. I'm going to have someone else come pick me up. I'm going to Uber back to my office. Like, it's okay. We'll figure it out. It doesn't mean that I'm planning for that, but I'm planning for that.
And that's what you got to do. It's all about planning. All right, quickly, I don't want to take too much of your time, but let's talk a little real estate maybe for few minutes. What do you get into? I know we talked about this before. You know, you love multifamily, you're doing a little fix and flip. What does that look like right now?
Yeah. So I would say I do love multifamily. I have a 22 unit apartment complex that I bought on my own before I realized that there are other ways to group people together that can buy bigger things.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Outside of that, I love short-term rentals and I love the fix and flip opportunity. And so those two are definitely what I would say more focused on right now. We still look at multifamily opportunities, but it's, I'm trying not to be literally all over the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, inside the fix and flip world, we're buying properties in Kansas City. Our buy box is like between 50 and I'd say 200, but 50 and 150 usually. We're looking to put 20 to 50 in it, and obviously we've got a margin there that we're looking for. But that's generally speaking, we're in the middle of 7 projects right now. Actually 8 projects right now. And so we're excited about that. We're trying to do more transactions there. We've got a wholesale side of that piece of it as well, for the deals that don't make sense for us necessarily, and we know that other investors can do. So we like that. I've got a great team in place there. And on the short term side, again, it's a different type of team, but it's a customer experience, and got a great gal who does the majority of that. She loves excellence, man. She loves when we get a 5-star review that says, the place was clean, it was incredible, just as described, quick response. Like, it's a customer experience. And so the short-term rental space is very, very unique and almost hospitality, really.
Yeah.
But we love it, man. We love the cash flow from the STRs.
Oh,
yeah,
it's definitely there. And
Yeah.
listeners, I'm sure you've heard a theme here. It's team building, and he's a builder, like you said, and that's what he's done. Chaz is not just going out here and doing this all by himself. He's able to do all these things because he has a team, and he's put systems and processes in place for them to run effectively and efficiently.
Yeah.
And that's important, man. Well, I hope we get to do a deal together one day, because I think that would be pretty cool.
100%.
But before I ask you the final 2 questions, where can the listeners find you?
Yeah, chazwolfe.com is my personal brand website, and obviously all the things that I'm doing are attached there. You can also find Gathering the Kings at gatheringthekings.com. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm open. We work with entrepreneurs in all different trades, obviously including real estate. Personally, I'm in 3 different industries, and so I love collaborating and talking with people from all different places in the country as well as industry. And so, yeah, please find me there. You can connect to my calendar right there from the website. My email's on the website as well, cw@chazwolfe.com. You can reach out to me directly. Although I do have a team member that gets in there. I do see that email box. So I will reply, or someone will get back to you super quick. So we like to create relationships, man. So let's make it happen.
Yeah, man. And we've talked about this, there's a lot of real estate masterminds out there. And I think it's important, if that's your business, to be in one, maybe a couple. But I think it's also important to get into some other masterminds, because if you're just constantly around, real estate investors, business owners, you get the same kind of, for lack of a better term, groupthink, same type of thing. I think it's important to get around other business owners in other industries to kind of get a more holistic view.
Yeah, I appreciate that plug, because you're right. Real estate masterminds, I think they probably started the whole mastermind community, but I love it. I love that we can get in and we can talk about the X's and O's of a flip, or that we can talk about the X's and O's of a syndication, or, short-term rentals, and what are you doing here? And like, I love all that. I love it, love it, love it. But to your point, when you remove the X's and the O's of your niche versus mine, the only thing that's left is high-level business strategy. It's your next 5 moves. It's thinking ahead. It's being proactive. It's planning. It's team building. It's leadership. It's mindset. It's who do I know? Who do I need to know? It's connection. What we say is leveraging time, leveraging resources, and leveraging key relationships. Because at that point, that's what it's about. It's not about the individual niche.
All right, I love it, man. All right, final 2 questions. And as the listeners know, I never prepare the guests for this, so it's right off the dome. What comes to mind first?
Here we
First
go.
question's kind of two parts. One, why real estate to build wealth? And part, two of that is what life has it currently afforded you, and what life do you see it affording you in the future?
Yeah. So real estate, for me, is so creative. When you say real estate, you can be in real estate and I can be in real estate, and you're doing something completely different than me.
Yep.
So from a creativity, entrepreneurial, like who I am as a builder, I find real estate as just this like playground, honestly, of like, wow, I could do this, I could do that. That's kind of fun. So you can really either find a niche, or like me, I kind of got a couple different things going on, and I love it. I love you can be whoever you want to be inside of real estate. Now, from a practical standpoint, there's cash flow. I look at deals. I want money paying me every month. From a deal perspective, there's got to be cash flow. If it's a hold play, there's got to be cash flow. Of course, I'm looking for appreciation. I'm looking for a cash out option at some point. I'm strategically thinking about what does this property look like for me over the next couple of decades, even for my family. So that's kind of like maybe part two is because it's legacy building. And I already told you I'm a builder, so I'm putting resources together, businesses, real estate, the things that I feel like that can last, that my children and grandchildren can do amazing things with.
Love it, man. That's a great answer. I haven't had one like that. So well done, my friend. All right. Question two. The old, if you had a time machine question, and you could go back in time to talk to younger Chaz, and you could give him one piece of financial advice, because after all, this is also a personal finance show. What would that one piece of finance advice be?
Ooh, that's good. I mean, the very first things that come to my mind are, invest in Tesla or crypto when it's at, pennies. Because I think that would financially make the most, gain. Or when I'm 12, if I had a rich dad scenario helping me buy properties, so I would have owned properties for already 20 years. Like, okay. So outside of that, I would say jump. You can always go make more money. And not that I didn't jump. I mean, I left a 6-figure career at 24 years old and bought a $500,000 business. I feel like I jumped, but I think that I would do it the same, or I would encourage me to even do it sooner. My kids, they won't even know what it feels like to jump because we'll be falling already. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking to my 8-year-old right now about the deals that I'm doing and how I want us to be, partners in a real estate deal together. I'm going to be speaking to their school about investing in real estate and business building here in a couple of weeks. Like, I want my younger self, aka now my children, to know what I know now, which is go for it, dude. Just freaking go for it. The worst thing that you're going to hear is no, or the worst thing is that you're going to lose all your money. Okay, fine. Then just do it again. Like, there should just be no fear. And of course, now that I have kids and family and stuff like that, I try to take calculated risks. But I'm just like, look, what's the worst case scenario here? Is my family taken care of with some of the assets that I have? I think so. So let's go. Just jump. Why not? What do I have to lose? Even at 35 right now, if I literally lost it all and I had to sell this beautiful home that we just built and I had to sell it all and we had to go live in it, fine, whatever. That would suck maybe for a little bit of time, but dude, we'd be right back and I'd have an amazing story to tell my family. Like, no fear, jump.
There we go. Just jump. That's really all you got to do. With a little direction and planning, just jump.
That's right.
And then obviously, educate yourself. You may be gathering the kings, so that your jump can be aimed in the right direction. But I love that, man. I wish I had jumped earlier too. So that's some great advice. Well, Chaz, man, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for all your time today.
Of course,
you brought a lot of value. So I know I appreciate it. I know the listeners will too.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It was an absolute blessing. Thank you.
Yeah. And listeners, as you know, easy doesn't pay well, and instant gratification is self-destructive. So get out there and not only work hard for your money, but have your money work hard for you. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Hey, this is Shawn Winslow. After being in the financial service industry for years and having candid conversations with good people just like you, I realized that so many of us are wanting an investment strategy that provides solid returns and consistent income without the bumps in the road. There's little known secret that your financial advisor doesn't want you to know. There is an investment out there that is less volatile and the returns are stronger. Get more details by going to greenbriercg.com and clicking on the free e-report. And by the way, if this show has provided you any value, then feel free to leave an honest written review and of course, share it with a friend who needs it. See you next week for another great show.